Blau und weiß sein Leben lang. Hallo meine Leute. Willkommen zum das einzige Schalke Podcast auf English. That's right, folks. Officially the world's only English Schalke podcast. This is episode 113 of SchalkeMerica, and yours truly is back from the injury list. Let me bring right into the show the co-host, as always, Jack Mangan, the man who held up the fort last week. How you doing, Jack?
Hello, and good evening to everybody not named Thomas Muller. I hate you, Thomas Muller. I wish you would go interpret some spaces that are not on a football pitch and somewhere away from Schalke. But I'm doing okay, Richard. Good to have you back after my catastrophe of an episode in the hosting duties last week. You can really tell how quickly things fall apart without the main man over here when he goes missing, even for a solitary episode. But thank you to Ethan for joining me last week and helping us get through that one. So.
Yeah. The Tedesco Time fanboys were certainly in the chat as well. It was awesome to have them on there as well. Very chatty.
They were indeed. No,
it was good to have them on. Good to have Ethan on as well. We haven't had him on in a long time. It's a second cap. It's almost as bad as Mark Uda, I guess, or name any other player who's had a cap in a long hasn't had a cap in a long time, I guess. So. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about this episode. Obviously, the game against Bayern, not the way we thought it was going to go. Most of the game, it was okay, but the end is... anyway, and then we got some news to talk about some transfer moves, both away and towards us. So we'll get into all of that.
Well, Richard, the good news about the Bayern game is...
There was some good news.
We're twice as good as we were at the start of the season. You know, we lose 8-0.
This is true. We are improving.
Halfway through, we lose 4. Hey, by the end of the season, we might be able to draw Bayern 0-0, and what an accomplishment that would be. So, I mean, silver lining for everything, man.
There is a silver lining for everything. That is true. It was a better performance. I joked before the game how I'm watching the game from my closet just because I was worried it would be a lot of goals. And I was thinking going into this, if we could give up 3 goals or less, that'll be a win for us, considering how bad we've been against them and how bad we've looked against good teams overall. So I wasn't too optimistic about how the game would go out. What were your thoughts initially heading into the game? Because obviously it's a game that's obviously a black eye for us this season, 8-0 to start the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, the highs of that win against Hoffenheim dissipated quickly with the losses to Frankfurt, and then, of course, the midweek collapse to Cologne, which has to be a pretty big psychological hit, you would imagine. So, I mean, yeah, I wasn't expecting anything. I was expecting to get absolutely smashed by Bayern. You know, even though there's a lot of teams at the top of the table right now that maybe aren't firing on all cylinders at the moment. I mean, this is still top versus bottom of the league, and we saw what happened earlier. So, yeah, my expectations were few and far between, I would say.
Yeah. And if you look at the records, I mean, it looked like Bayern played us all year because the records almost identically flipped from us. So they got like 1 or 2 losses, we got 1 win, and yeah, it doesn't look good in the standings, and they're like something like 40, 50 points ahead of us, which is crazy at this time of the year. But yeah, let's look at the lineups. Before we get into this game, Bayern came out with a pretty standard lineup. Neuer, it's his basically Schalke B team out here. The former Schalke hitman on here. Neuer in goal, back 4 of Süle, Boateng, Alaba, and Davies. He had a big midfield 5 of Gnabry, Goretzka, Müller, Kimmich, and Sané, all led by Lewandowski. Nothing too surprising here. For me, the one maybe surprise I would say is Süle playing right back. But you heard through the game that they wanted to bring someone big to kind of push around Harit, which I think he did successfully. What was your thoughts on the lineup initially for Bayern?
To be a Bayern Munich fan, man, it's a good lineup. You look at that team, and it's just like there's good players in every single position.
Champions League winners, apparently,
in that starting 11. Yeah, I have heard that. That's the rumor. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's just... But yeah, 4-2-3-1 kind of is a default shape, I guess you could say, which is what we came out with as well. And yeah, that Süle thing, I guess, maybe would be the only thing. Although what I would say is that Harit has been drifting centrally anyway, a lot from that left-hand position. So putting like a big body out wide to counter him doesn't necessarily do anything. Maybe that was more for Kolasinac, honestly, even though he was out of the lineup. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know when that was announced. I don't know what was going on with that, but yeah, and then from the Schalke perspective, which you'll get into, it was very much what we've been seeing recently. Not a whole lot different, I would say.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't. I mean, the one thing is it's been a constant lineup, with under Gross. Goaltender, obviously, Ralf Fährmann. Back four of Becker, Kabak, Nastasic, Chipka. You had this holding midfielder of Stambouli and Serdar, and then attacking trio of Rahman, Ut, and Harit, led by Hoppe. I think the interesting thing for me in the lineup, because obviously the big news coming into this game was we got Huntelaar, Kolasinac, excuse me. He was someone who's been playing well for us, the brief time he's been with us. But this guy right here doesn't play, Mr. Huntelaar, the jersey you see right behind me. And Kolasinac doesn't play either. Kolasinac because of injury, and Huntelaar, maybe they just don't want to embarrass him in his first game back with the club. I don't know. Not having those two in there, I think, was the big thing for me, because I was kind of hoping to see possibly Huntelaar play, not necessarily start, but play at least. And not having either of them, I think, certainly made it more difficult than it was going to be already.
Yeah, obviously so much excitement about Huntelaar coming in and then doesn't feature in either of the first two matches. So, I forgot if maybe he picked up a knock too. I forgot what the reason was, but yeah, hopefully we see him at least in a cameo role soon. Just for the novelty of that, just to have him back, it'd be nice. I don't know how much he's going to do to actually affect things on the pitch, or if he's even really going to be given an opportunity in terms of some sort of large minute share. But obviously a loss for Kola to not be in there, based on how important he's been. But I do think that Ochipka ended up looking a little bit better in this one, and maybe that's because he's gotten some rest and isn't being ground down week in, week out, unrelentingly for such a long period of time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the game started out fairly well for us. Possession-wise, it was closer than we had expected. Shots, we had some fairly good amount of shots. Not necessarily good shots, but there were shots. We started out in the first minute. I think Becker got a shot off in the first minute or something like that. It looked fairly even, considering it was Bayern and considering who we are at the moment. But we were punching toe-to-toe with them. We knew a goal was probably coming. It took about 33 minutes before Thomas Muller scored. Joshua Kimmich with a nice cross from the right-hand side. Found Muller back door. Becker really wasn't marking him like he should have been. Too easy of a goal for him. I think of the 4 goals that were scored, that was probably the only one that was a good goal, I would say, by Bayern. The rest of them were really bad defensive. Even this goal was a bad defensive effort, but at least you can understand it was a great pass by Kimmich to get that in there. Not the way you want to start. Obviously, it was promising. First 30 minutes, no goals, which is I thought we were going into halftime. But as soon as I thought that they scored, I'm like, fuck me, man. What were your thoughts on that initial goal?
Yeah, first 30 minutes, it didn't really look like top of the league versus bottom of the league, which is what it was. It looks like a much more competitive match. Now, I do think that Bayern was being able to play balls into the box a little bit too easily. And I think they definitely had the better of the chances in the first half hour. But Schalke came out from the very first minute looking lively, got a shot off right away, and they had some chances of their own. So, they were in it, and they could have easily taken the lead at some point. But unfortunately, it's the same old story. How many times have we talked about this team getting off to a good 15, good 20 minutes, good half hour before a really silly defensive mistake just blows the game open? And like you said, Kimmich picks the ball up. And Becker is I think a little bit overly concerned about the presence of Leroy Sané, who's kind of like off a little bit outside the box, and that causes him to lose track of the much more imminent threat in Thomas Muller. And he just lost his mark there, and it's a free header. You can't do that. You can't give a player of that caliber a free header within 5 yards of goal. It's just not how you win. So yeah, frustrating. It's the same old thing. It's a good start, and then it's somebody switches off for a second, loses track of their guy, has a quick brain fart, whatever, and just like that, it's the game's already flipped on its head. So
I don't know if Bayern was just a weaker for some reason, maybe because they've had a rough stretch of games lately that they're really worn out. I don't know. It's because it seemed like we were more into the game than we should have been, considering who the opponent was. We missed opportunities is like the theme of this game, because obviously poor defensive marking led to their goals, all 4 of their goals. We had some opportunities ourselves where we either skied the shot, or like in the 11th minute, Mark Uth had a great opportunity, a header right in front of Neuer, and hits it right towards him instead of hitting one of the corners. You see in other places where either Serdar or Uth or somebody else either shoots it wide or over the bar, and it's like you have these opportunities against a team like of this caliber. You need to be deadly with them. We've talked about it numerous times. You cannot give the opponents these chances. You have to be clinical. It's the one thing we keep repeating over and over. Well, one of the many things we repeat. And it's again proven in this game how we had opportunities, but we did nothing with them.
Yeah, I mean the Mark Gut header. What was that? 10th, 12th minute.
Yeah.
Actually, a moment of Bastian Oczipka getting up the field, which was what we've been saying hasn't been happening all season. Maybe he's been watching what Kolasinac has been doing, or maybe this is the influence of Christian Gross. But a nice moment from Oczipka, and also shout out Matthew Hoppe on that play because he makes a very hard dive near post, and that actually draws the defenders in there and clears out the center of the box for Oop to make that run. But it's a lofted ball right into the center of the box, and he just hits it kind of directly at Manuel Neuer, who, I mean, to be fair, it's a good save. He gets down, he gets low, and also to be fair, so basically what happened is like the entire right side of the goal was open for Marco to head that ball in there. I think it was Alphonso Davies was on that side of him, so that might have been affecting his ability to kind of aim it that way. But in the situation we're in, that clear of an opportunity, point blank range, you have to do better than that. And that's the thing is like, we once again, we talk about Mark Gut being an important player for us early in the season and being one of the guys who was really stepping up. Now that things have like, I don't want to say they've settled down, but we've seen a little bit of like a turn in terms of like competency going forward, right? Now that we finally have something going forward, Mark Gut's not finishing the chances. And it's like, dude, like this is why he's been frustrating. It's like you want to give this guy props and everything, but he has not consistently been kind of the guy that we hoped he would be, and he's doing it again now kind of recently. I don't want to be overly harsh on him, but it's just like, we got to take some of these chances. I mean, the fact that it's the 19-year-old American who's been the more clinical person on the team is not a good look. I mean, even Harit, Harit's finishing is so all over the place. Like, I mean, the goal he scored against Hoffenheim, confident laser finish, and then sometimes he just hits it and he just completely scuffs it, or like it's a dead ball. It's just it's just there's no consistency, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, and he had some opportunities just like that in the game, and it's certainly frustrating. And I think Ethan had a good point last week, where maybe it's Hoppe is more of fresh eyes. I think you brought it up too as well. Not really he hasn't been experiencing this all season long, so he's got his fresh eyes. He's got the confidence, and he's maybe they're keeping it simple for him, and he's going and doing what he's got to do, keeping it easy. But yeah, it seems like, and I don't remember if it was on a podcast you brought this up or if someone tweeted this out, but it seems like the better that we've gotten, the better the plays look, the worse Uth has gotten. When a team's been really poor, Uth has been amazing. And then when a team's gotten better, got the opportunities, like you said, Uth just misses these opportunities. And like, what's going on here? It doesn't make sense. The two aren't clicking for some reason. But I mean, we go into halftime down 1-0. Considering that's a decent result, Ralph Fährmann is coming up with some big saves in the game. All game long, he's had some big saves. For a majority of the match, he's one of the better players on the pitch for Schalke.
Had that double save off the free kick where Lewandowski put a quick 1-2, and then the rebound fell. I think it was Gnabry again. And Fährmann saved both of those, which was really nice from him. So I mean, good. I mean, we'll talk about him a little bit later, but overall, since he's been
up to this point, he was having a really good game. So going out of the half, up or down 1-0, I should say. We knew that Bayern was going to keep attacking because Fährmann's obviously been very active in this game. As the announcer said, it kind of looked like a training session for Ralph Fährmann with all the attempts he was making. But in the 54th, a goal would happen, a really very sloppy goal. I don't remember if it was Boateng or whoever lofted it over the top. Lewandowski, great first touch to control it. And then it's really like a bad news bears in front of the goal with him and Kabak and Fährmann, and somehow Lewandowski keeps it and just slides right underneath all two of them to get that goal, 2-0. It's not a pretty goal at all. And like we've said this numerous times, especially against Bayern, don't give up these cheap goals like this. Make them earn it. Make them cut through us, and they're not doing that at all. It's just a broken record.
You could put like framed photographs of quotes from us that we just repeat ad nauseum. But yeah, like this was the most.
Why aren't they watching this podcast or listening?
This was weirdly, and you might disagree with this, but weirdly, this was the most frustrating goal in this game because it's the kind of shit that you think that we would be attempting to overcome a team like Bayern, and Bayern often breaks you down in such more attractive, intricate ways. And those are the kind of goals that we want them to score against us because it just shows that they're better at us. But like the idea that they can just go complete route one over the top, long ball in behind, catch our defenders sleeping, and then Ozan Kabak, who for not the second game in a row, maybe, but like, we saw it against Luka Jovic. I mean, it's not good defending in the box, man. I mean, this is the guy that's got, big clubs supposedly rumored to be looking at him at times. I mean, these are, Lewandowski's Lewandowski, right? He's really good. Like, I mean, this is a world class.
You don't need to help him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not trying to be overly harsh, but this is like, if this kid is supposedly of this level, then you would expect him to not be getting burned that badly against Jovic and Lewandowski, pretty quickly. So it was just so frustrating because of how beneath, I think, what Bayern is capable of doing, how far beneath them that goal was, and they still scored it against us fairly easily. But I mean, credit to Lewandowski because he's nuts, and the fact that he's able to keep track of the ball under his feet in that way with everything going on there is just, that's why he's one of the best in the world.
Now, this may be over complicating things here, really, but when you have young defenders with so much hype, it goes one of two ways, especially when they play against top-notch strikers or the best striker in this case. You take a case like Ozan Kabak, where you have an opportunity to really step up your game and play above expectations, or you crumble under the pressure. And I think he's crumbling under the pressure in this. Now, if you had someone like Matthias de Ligt, for example, he would probably step up his game and probably do a pretty good job on him. It's different caliber of player. And there's nothing against Kabak, but it just seems like over the last, I don't know how many games, he seems, if maybe his head is somewhere else. I don't know. We're not there in the locker room. We don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe just the whole team is playing poorly, but these mistakes are compounding one after the other. And like, what is going on? This is something you think they would be able to handle a loose ball like that. And granted, the ball could be bouncing around and stuff happens. I get it.
And once again, it's a player from Bayern Munich and a player who's kind of a Real Madrid player, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, I mean, he's ending up on the ground both times. I mean, he's just like he's just getting completely. It's not a good look, and you would just hope that somebody with that kind of hype behind him would be able to do a little bit better than that. But tough situation.
Yeah. So 2-0 at that point. And then Fairman continues to make save after save, and I remember I'm sitting there watching the game. It's about 85th minute. And I'm like, 2-0. This is way above my expectation. I thought this would be a good result for us. Fairman man of the match easily. This is a pretty good result for us considering how we looked in the first game. 88th minute comes and corner kick. Thomas Muller over the top on Nastasic. Goal that shouldn't have happened. Should have been defended better. 3-0 at that point. You're like, okay. And then just 2 minutes later, Alaba from like no man's land takes a deep shot and something that Fairman should have had, I think. Granted, it could have been blocked or whatever, but so at that distance, you'd think he would be able to get it, especially it was right at him, basically. Fluffs that, and for me, I'm glad I didn't tweet that out because I was getting ready to say, "Oh, man of the match." I'm like, never mind.
No, you're exactly right.
Game, but
yeah, you're exactly right though, in the sense that one of our big concerns, I mean, our main concern is we need to win games. However we accomplish that, that's the most important thing. But one of the other concerns about this very much relegation fight that we're in now is goal difference and how poor our goal difference has been this season. The first leg against Bayern very much part and a contributing factor to that. But as you said, late into this match, 86 minute or whatever, you're looking at this and you're like, you know what? Yeah, it's a loss to Bayern, but even when we're in good form, we're not beating Bayern. And the idea that we can get out of here and only have, the hit to our goal difference be an additional 2 against Bayern, you'll take that all day. And then wouldn't you know it, we allow them to score 2 more in like the final moments of the match, which just makes it, the Schalke 04 meme continues. As John McKenzie said, the most cursed image in all of football is when, they show the scoreline and it's the shot. I mean, it's brutal. And it's the second time in the match that there is Kimmich to a completely unmarked Thomas Muller for a free header in the box. Kimmich had 3 assists in this game. And this was the second time that he connected with Muller with no one marking him. How does this happen? How are we consistently this bad from set pieces, from corners, this kind of thing? This is what we said last week was like, oftentimes when your team is playing awful and you're in a fight, this can be your saving grace. This can be your salvation. You can steal some goals on set pieces. You can be really strong there. And it's like one of our biggest liabilities, which is not bode well. And then finally, as you said, the Alaba goal. Fairman saw it late based on, I think, how it was coming over there, but he still has to do better than that. And somebody's got to step to him and not let him shoot from that kind of range. But that's just the icing on the cake, a goal that poor to make it 4-0. Yeah. Yeah.
And it went from a game that went like a pretty good result to something that's like, okay, another laughing stock. It's good. There were definitely positives in this game, but you see, Null fears the scoreline. You're like, okay, that game was crap. But there were some positives in the game. We did do well at times against Bayern. We had some shots, which is a struggle we've had against good teams. We had something like 13 shots in the game. Ochipka had some decent moments as well. Obviously Fairman had a big game, but still all this is overshadowed because two really poor goals at the end of the game, and kind of just we could have walked away down losing 2-0, but having momentum after the game, because I think that would have been okay. Look, that's a pick me up game. We played much better than we did probably against Frankfurt and Cologne up to that point. But then those two goals happen. You're like, all right, throw that out the door. And to bring your point about the set pieces, right? Even the announcers were talking about like this is the one area that Schalke has been poor at all season long. You would think this is the only thing to be practicing and practice, and they're not doing it. Or Gross, you would think would be focusing solely on this. Maybe he should take a page out of Marco Rose's book and not practice them at all, and maybe they'll get better because that's where they're number one in the league in set piece goals. I don't know, but it's frustrating when you this is a main weakness, one of the main weaknesses of the team. It's probably one of the major weaknesses, other than in defense in general, and we've done nothing to improve that whatsoever with all the coaches we've had this season.
The goals are all awful goals.
Yes,
every single goal every single goal we can see in this match was a bad goal. None of these are Bayern. I'm not trying to not give them credit for what they did. They have great players on the pitch, and they created these chances. But like, it's so frustrating because the rest of the game, kind of in it. If it's not for just these several moments of just like absolute brain dead football that we show, and it's just the same thing over and over. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's easy to say if it wasn't for the 4 goals that Bayern scored, they wouldn't have scored 4 goals. I know how ridiculous that sounds when I say that, but it's just like, the goals they scored didn't seem to be as much a part of the play that was going on. You know what I mean? Sometimes like certain things are building and then they ultimately figure it out and they make it work. And these are just, we're defending well and it's a long ball played over the top, a long ball from the side that no one picks up a marker, and it's awful. So could have been an opportunity, as difficult as it is to take anything from any more losses at this point, because we desperately need to avoid them. If there was a loss that we could have taken something from, 2-0 to Bayern may have been that loss just because of how much of an improvement it was early in the season, and the fact that it's not, a terrible performance necessarily. But yeah, the last 2 goals just kind of totally changed that narrative, unfortunately. And I think the worst part of it is that no one had any expectation in this game that we would get a result. Right, coming into this game, we knew that we had to win in Frankfurt, had to win at Cologne, and we did neither. And we're like, okay, we're playing Bayern, we're just going to get shellacked. No one had expectations. And then we played fairly decently. We had some positives up until the 88th minute, and then all of a sudden, that goes out the window too. So they gave us hope for 88 minutes, 87 minutes, and we're like, okay, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can have a decent result. Not a win, but a decent result. And no, it goes back to the same old meme of null fear, like you mentioned. So it is what it is. We did talk about how there were some moves that happened. Obviously, Huntelaar coming in, obviously Kolasinac coming in, a couple of weeks before him. One of the big news, at least for SchalkeMerica headquarters, a young Ahmed Katucu was moved out on loan with no option to buy, which I guess is a good thing, to Heracles Almelo in the Eredivisie in Netherlands, top division. It's apparently this move. There was a lot of teams that Katucu could have gone to, and he kind of handpicked them because he thought maybe he can get the most pitch time out of there. Which I agree, he needs to go somewhere to play if he's not going to be playing for us. Why he's not playing for us, it's beyond us. But he did agree on this move to Heracles. And what do we see from the young free Katucu movement there? Gets his first substitution in the game, in his first game-winning assist. For those who didn't watch the game, the 90th minute. Had a one-on-one against a defender. Nice move around him, outpaced him to the ball, fed Berghorst or whoever the guy is who scored the goal, and he put it away. It's kind of like rubbing salt in the wounds for us because we someone who could have been doing that for us, but it's also nice to see him doing well because there is no option to buy for Heracles, which is good because means he'll come back to us eventually. So it's good and bad. It's bittersweet. What are your thoughts on the move, and then seeing young Katucu get an assist on his first game? Well, obviously, anybody that saw my my message on the SchalkeMerica Twitter account knows exactly how I feel about it. I think it's an absolutely absurd decision by the club, and obviously, I'm going to criticize it heavily. Richard, assuming Matthew Hoppe got subbed out, and actually he did in this game, but forget that. I'm saying hypothetically, with the lineup and the bench as it is, what forwards do you have to sub in for Matthew Hoppe? I'll tell you who was on the bench in this game. Hamza Mendel.
Not a striker. Not a striker.
Omar Mascarell.
Not a striker.
Michel Langer.
Not a striker.
Nassim Bouyaleb.
Not a striker.
They're trying to make him one. I mean,
he's trying to make him one.
He's about as much a striker as Weston McKennie is a striker.
And Hamza Mendil.
Yeah, and Hamza Mendil, yeah. Levent Mercan.
Not a striker.
Jan Bosduan.
Should be playing more, but not a striker.
Malachal.
Yeah.
What? And Huntelaar's in. If Huntelaar, okay. So what happens if Matthew Hoppe goes down with injury? Not obviously not wishing this on anybody, and I don't even want to like speak this into existence in the universe. But like, what if Mark Uth goes down? What if Matthew Hoppe goes down? You don't have anybody. I mean, like this move makes all the sense in the world for Ahmed Kutucu because they're clearly refusing to play him. And if you're a young player, you need to go get experience. Yeah, go over the Dutch league, hopefully bang in a bunch of goals, get some confidence, come back. Makes all the sense in the world for Kutucu. Whether deserved or undeserved, they're not playing this guy. But the thing is, even if you're not going to play him, why would you get rid of him and then get rid of what little depth that we have?
Yeah, like Paciencia's nowhere even close.
What is this?
Yeah.
I mean, Paciencia is still. I mean, this is insane to me. Yeah. Is there somebody else that we're promoting from the youth system that I haven't heard about yet? We've seen the injury troubles that Schalke have had to the forward position in very recent history, extremely recent history.
Yeah,
that could easily happen again, and it doesn't even need to be that widespread. If one or two people go down, like you would want Ahmed Kutucu to be available. I think it's a horrible decision, and obviously I overrate this guy because people that are much more credentialed and experienced in the footballing world don't rate him as highly as I do. That's fine. Even so, has to be there for depth, I think. And I think I really hope we don't live to regret it.
I do too.
Super, super frustrating, but good for him for, coming on in his first appearance and making something happen at the death to get a result for his team.
I think going to the Dutch league is good for him because it's a very offensive league. He'll have a chance to gain confidence, as you mentioned, try out some things that he won't normally get to try again in the Bundesliga. And then hopefully, like you said, bangs in some goals, gets some assists, brings it back some confidence. And, hopefully next year in the Bundesliga, he's able to, be a contributor more so than he is right now. But it was head scratching for sure, the move. But again, bittersweet that he went over there and then gets the game winning assist in there. And you're like, okay, well, could have been. What could have been, I guess. It could still be.
I fully admit that he could be the next, Donis Avdiay or whatever, like at Schalke. Like he could be that kind of figure that everyone thinks is going to break through and never really does. That might be the career trajectory this guy ultimately has.
Yeah.
But when he's consistently getting called up to the Turkish national team, I mean, it's whatever. But okay, I'm done ranting on that for the time being.
You sure?
And hopefully. Should we do weekly Kutucu updates? That would be funny to keep the me going. Maybe we should give everyone a break and just not talk about him for the rest of the season because I think our audience has probably earned that respite. But
maybe once a month we'll update on what he's doing in the Dutch.
Maybe I'll just start a series of separate videos outside of the podcast, just called Kutucu Watch, where I just constantly give you updates on what's going on.
Maybe we just do it in Dutch. How about that? Spreekt u Nederlands? No.
I mean, you're more ambitious on that than I am. I wouldn't dare disrespect the great Dutch people with my butchering their language.
So Matt says on YouTube, he says, I didn't realize Kutucu played on loan already. He has. Also hope he does well. His lack of playing time seems like one of the few consistencies in the club. Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's fair. And we don't know what's going on in the back scenes, like you said. We don't know what's going on in practices. But still, just for the depth reasons.
There's no strikers on the bench. There's none. Yeah. There's no one.
I mean, when Hoppe got subbed out, Rahman ended up being the striker, and he's not a striker either. Uth. They could do the job somewhat. There's no one else who can be able to do it, right? But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, good for Kutucu doing well, and yeah. Well, I'm gonna get off the topic because we could go all day on this. But we did get
Matanda too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, at least you can throw him on for depth. We don't have any.
Yeah, that's right. We did get rid of Matando as well. So I mean, we got nobody now. So we didn't lose all players. We did we brought in some players. Another loan we got. This time we got William, another Brazilian, the 15th Brazilian to join Schalke. Right back to position we need for sure. And I mean, obviously Becker's been doing a decent job. You and Ethan were talking about last episode how. We're not really talking about Becker because he hasn't been making too many big mistakes. Obviously, the goal he gave up against Mueller was not a good one, but overall, he's been fairly decent. Nothing too great, nothing poor. It's been solid, and yeah, now we got William coming in. Now, William hasn't been played a while because he has a crucial ligament injury that he had. That's why he's only played 2 games this year. But when he joined Wolfsburg initially, there's a lot of hype about him because he came from Porto Internacional in Brazil. Good right back, a lot of talent. Had a good season, I think last year. I think he hit some like 6 goals, 8 assists or something like that as right back. Obviously the injury is going to hurt him. He needs a time to play, and they're whoever they have right now playing for them is playing pretty well. So what are your thoughts on the move? You think is he going to get a start initially over Becker? Should he get a start over Becker, or what are your thoughts on the move? Loan, no option to buy, I believe.
Well, it's nice to see that after 18 match days, we finally decided to like officially dress the right back position. You know, it was only like a year ago that Daniel Caligiuri announced that he wasn't going to be coming back, or whenever it was. Yeah. Nice that we finally got around to actually fielding a right back at that position. But to be fair, in the January window, Kolasinac and William, good business.
Yeah.
Honestly, we
talked about those are the weaknesses,
Schneider legitimately addressed the right back and the left back needs. So credit to him. I'm just frustrated that it took us all the way until January to do this because I'm not saying it would have made the difference, and the performance of the team would have been night and day if we had those positions locked down earlier in the season, but it certainly would have helped. But yeah, as you say, if he's coming back from injury, this is a move that I think makes sense for all 3 parties involved, both Wolfsburg, the player, and Schalke. They would probably be wanting to ease him back a little bit, or maybe he's not in their plans at the moment just because they have whatever they have going on. So this gives him an opportunity to probably get more consistent minutes that they feel comfortable giving him at Wolfsburg and get him back to match fitness. And then if he does well, maybe he's back in the starting lineup for them next season. So yeah, a loan move that I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that rumor initially before it got locked up. I was like, wow, that would actually be nice. So I
was like, there's no chance this happening. Like, oh, okay, I'll take it.
Credit.
I know people were screaming when they heard Özil join Fenerbahce for free. Withdrew his wages, and I understand where the frustration comes from. However, you have to understand also where Özil was. Özil says he's always wanted to play for Fenerbahce. That's why he would do something like that. Granted, he's a Schalke boy, but he had his eyes set on either the U.S. or Turkey, and he said he wanted to play there before he retired, and I can see why he did that. So I don't think that deal would have happened for us.
Well, the arrival of Mesut Özil potentially increases the motivation for Omar Bayes to leave. So this is
nice segue.
Yeah, there you go. So do you like that? That was very professional for me.
This is a very Turkish episode, by the way,
which I've now ruined by talking about how professional it was. This is the latest rumor, I guess. So this is 17-year-old central attacking midfielder. So somebody who would be, you would imagine, very much in the position that Mesut Özil is now going to occupy. And who knows how much first team football Mesut Özil really has left in him at the age of 32, given that his work rate is already something that's been heavily criticized as it is. But already a young kid who maybe hasn't gotten quite the number of opportunities he would have liked to, and could be looking to make, a step elsewhere. Not sure why Schalke would be a super attractive destination outside of the number of Turkish national players that are kind of in the mix with Kabak and formerly Katucu, but Bosdowan and people. Maybe that's some appeal. And obviously we have a good, he would probably actually get some playing time, but don't know if this is going to happen or how strong this rumor is yet. Have you heard much more that's actually suggesting that there's ongoing negotiations or something?
There was a rumor from, and I forget the website, it's a Turkish website, that they said that there was already an agreement with a 5-year deal to come in July 2021 through 2026 with a $40 million option to buy. I don't know where the money would come from. Tony's maybe. That's a rumor, but there's also a rumor that he could be going to the arch rivals of Fenerbahce, going to Galatasaray. So we don't know yet, but it's still a strong rumor with Schalke. There's also a rumor that Özil is trying to help, convince him to go to Schalke because it's a good place to go, especially for a youngster. He is, for those who don't know him, he is the Turkish Messi. Watch some of the highlights. He's actually pretty decent on the ball, pretty competent. We talk about how competent
the German Messi, Max Meyer.
Oh gosh, Fußballgott. Yeah,
we stop calling people to something Messi. Let's just talk.
Yeah,
the Max Meyer thing.
I've seen this kid. I've seen this kid on the ball. He's got good ball retention, good ball possession. If you think Bosdowan is looks pretty good when he has the ball, this kid is actually really good. He's only 16, 17 years old. He's already been given the captain's armband for Fenerbahce for a couple of games. He played really big role for them recently in their Turkish League Cup game. So he's got some moves. He's got really good assists. He's got he's got those cheeky flair type moves as well, but he's very strong on the ball for being a kid his age. So if that move were to happen, that would be excellent for us because, yes, I think he could be in maybe not in the starting 11 right off the front, but he would be involved heavily, hopefully, consider I don't know how his practice is, how he doesn't practice or whatnot, but it's someone we could certainly develop. Schalke has a knack for developing young players, or they did, whatever you want to call it. But I think it would be a good addition. If Schneider pulled this off, that'd be amazing. Considering the claim this kid has right now, he's looked at as the future star for Turkey for many years to come.
Yeah, I mean, definitely somebody who has some hype around him. I would be skeptical about how much impact a 17-year-old would have, or how much we'd have to rely on him. And obviously, like I'm not going to claim that I'm super familiar with him, but my rapid fire take, quick reaction to the small sample size of stuff that I've seen of him would be, very similar to yours. I think he has very good awareness of where his teammates are around him at all times, even when he's not necessarily looking there. But he has good vision as well. Really tidy feet, good on the ball. Pretty good off the ball movement. And the other thing I like is I think he really uses his body positioning intelligently. So he's not just receiving a pass. He's often really conscious about how he's receiving that pass and whether or not that sets him up to make an initial move somewhere else. So it's somebody who's not afraid to take people on the dribble and force a defender into a decision and opening something up for his teammates. So I mean, if we were to somehow bring him in and slot him right into kind of the number 10 role in the 4-2-3-1, could help us with our creativity. Maybe combines nicely with Harit, and they can add a spark.
It's got to say something that all the Fenerbahce fans are obviously pissed that he could possibly be leaving them. Especially if the rumor is true that it's a 5-year deal for $40 million to Schalke or anywhere, especially even Galatasaray. Even that'd be even worse for them. But it says that they really appreciate the kid and they really want him to be there. But I guess in the same vein, you could also flip that and say that there's a lot of people who thought Katucu could be someone that they're pissed off that he's leaving there. So there's that too, I guess. So. It all comes back to Katucu, doesn't it? We'll see. We'll see. We'll keep an update on Omer Faruk Beyaz. He's certainly a talent. I mean, go on YouTube, check out his highlights. Like I said, he's played recently for Fenerbahce in the Turkish Cup game they had. So good skill on the ball. I'm curious what people think. Definitely check it out. Let us know in the next episode what you thought about him, and we'll monitor the window here. We got about 5 days left or so. We'll see if any more moves come in. I mean, we obviously still need some help. We've obviously addressed two major issues with the left back and right back, which is great. Brought in Huntelaar, which I'm excited to see him play. I with Huntelaar, I was wondering what the Ajax fans would think about him. He's obviously a legend for them, but what would the thoughts be? And they're all you've seen from Ajax Twitter has been good things, positive. Like, what? They're like, good for him. He deserves to do whatever he wants. If he wants to go there and save one of his favorite teams, let him do it. So it's all been positive for Huntelaar. Ajax has been very classy with this whole thing as well, especially with them waiving the fee.
Exactly. Class organization, top to bottom with the fans. Too. I mean, for them helping him become available to us that easily and really taking an active role in facilitating that move was greatly appreciated.
And it says something about someone who made it clear that he's retiring at the end of the year or end of this season, wants to spend his last 6 months trying to save one of his favorite teams as opposed to just taking it easy and playing on the top team in the Netherlands. Says a lot about him as well. So hopefully we can treat him well enough that he can get some goals for us.
It's the least Ajax could do after the Europa League semifinal.
so gut punch there, isn't it? It was a tough game.
Still hurts me.
It does. It does. It's the last time we were good, I think. So. That's football. It is football. That's probably put a wrap on this one. Obviously, it's the window. We'll keep an eye on all the transfers that come out here. So, anything else, Jack, you got for us?
No, I'm good. Good to have you back, man.
I'm good. I'm glad to be back. Not fully recovered yet. Jaw's very sore still, but the meds are helping for sure. Take meds responsibly. That'll put a wrap on this one. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you sign up for the Schalke US newsletter. You can just enter your email address and get them once a month. Definitely a good way to keep up on not only the club, but also the local fan clubs around the US and even our podcast as well. We're going to give a little quick plug to teespring.com/SchalkeMerica. Get your gear. Of course, neither of us are wearing our gear at the moment, but you can get your gear there for the Schalke store. Thank you to all the listeners and for Schalke for providing tidbits on our podcast today. Anything you would like us to talk about in the future, just let us know at SchalkeMerica, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We'll try to respond. So, Jack, where can our listeners find you on social media?
at JM Mangan, JMMangan on Twitter. Yes, take medication responsibly in consultation with your physician, and do the same when it comes to your Schalke viewing. Make sure you consult your doctor to make sure you're healthy enough to view Schalke 2. If you have a history of heart problems, anything like that, it may not be advisable.
That's true. That is very true. Watch responsibly. As always, you can follow me at R_KHARMAN anywhere, really. If you haven't done so yet, for those watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Like, leave comments, let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to see on the page. We'll try to get some more content for you, maybe some history about Schalke here coming here shortly. So we'll see. But until the next podcast comes, my friends, stay ready, and we'll be with you soon. Tschüss.